Before we begin the review, I would just like to quickly mention that I will be reviewing this game as a $90 game product because, well, it costs $90. That's really it. So before you come to the game's defense and saying like, oh, it's a budget game, it's a very small team, etc., etc., I'm going to be judging it as if it was any other game that costs $90 to purchase, okay? So, we all clear on that? Good. Now let's begin the review. Bound by Flame is a fantasy role-playing game developed by Spiders and published by Focus Home Interactive and released on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and PC. In Bound by Flame, you play as Vulcan, a mercenary who works for the Freeborn Blades. You and your fellow people are engaged in a war with the Ice Lords and their Deadwalkers, but it is not looking good for you or anyone else. That is, until you happen to get the powers of a demon put inside your body by a spell gone wrong. With this newfound demon power, you and your people now stand a chance against the Ice Lords, but every time you use your demon powers, you lose more and more of your humanity and become more demon-like. Or at least that's what the website for Bound by Flame says anyway. I never felt the need to use my demon powers because the game is ridiculously easy, at least on normal difficulty anyway. The combat system for Bound by Flame at first glance seems to have a lot of depth for alternate viable playstyles, but it really doesn't. There are 3 different skill trees: the Warrior, the Ranger, and the Pyromancer. But the Warrior and Pyromancer are incredibly underpowered in comparison to the Ranger. When you're a Warrior, you have a special move you can activate by pressing the Q button, which does this dainty little kick that does practically nothing. But when you're a Ranger and you press the Q key, you do a quick step back and you get a ton of invincibility frames, and you basically break the game. My strategy for all enemy encounters was spam the left mouse button, and then when the enemies twitch even the slightest bit, just press the Q button and then avoid their attack, and then continue spamming the left mouse button. Even though the Q key sends your character backwards, you'd think like maybe this has sort of some implications that, oh, you won't be able to get in range to attack the enemy as quickly, so there's an upside and a downside to it. No. Your character has very generous, like, I don't know what you'd call it, auto aim, auto lock on, not really sure, but basically it just dashes, it just zips right on over to the enemy and then just wails on them as soon as you look in the general area of them and press the left mouse button. And it's like, so you just press the Q key when they're about to attack, spam the left mouse button, and then as soon as you're done there, just zip on over to the next one, because you just fly and zip around so much, it's crazy. After leveling up and putting some points into Ranger, I also found out that the stealth mode makes the Ranger class even better. By pressing the X key, you enter a sneak mode, which allows you to sneak up on enemies, and if they don't spot you and you attack them, you deal massive amounts of damage. You can one-shot a ton of enemies just by sneaking up on them and then pressing the left mouse button. So if the game wasn't easy enough for you playing as Ranger, it just got even easier. There are also other ways you can fight enemies. You can place exploding traps on the ground, you can fire crossbows, you can tell your companion how to fight and engage the enemy, lots of small things like that. There's also a crafting system, so if you don't have any crossbow arrows or any exploding traps, you can just pick up some of the materials that enemies left in the little bags that they leave when they die, and then just craft some more and then kill some more enemies. So yeah, if the game wasn't easy enough, it got even easier with the addition of all this stuff. I say that the game is actually really easy, but the difficulty in this game is quite odd, because even though it is really easy, when you do die, it feels really cheap. Certain enemies will send you flying onto the ground, and then they'll repeatedly attack you while you're on the ground until you're dead, giving you no chance to fight back. But this only happens pretty rarely, thankfully, so it's not that big of a deal. But when it does happen, it can be a bit of a nuisance, and it does feel very unfair. That's enough about the gameplay, and because I'm pretty bad at segues, let's talk about the graphics. Visually, this game isn't really anything to write home about. It looks pretty average. Not bad, not great, average. Although the game does have some of the worst screen space ambient occlusion I've seen in a game. Word of advice to everyone, either set the SSAO on low or turn it off. Otherwise, everything looks like it has an evil aura around it, and it's just strange looking. But aside from that, the game does occasionally look pretty nice, with some nice wide open shots, and at times during the night when you can't see anything but then you turn on your light, it sort of looks like Dark Souls, which is always a plus. On the subject of pluses, another thing that this game got right was definitely the the music. I got lost in the music that plays at the main menu. It's just so calm and atmospheric, and it sets up the game wonderfully. Unfortunately, the voice acting isn't anywhere near as good as the music.
Oh, shite.
After about 4 or 5 hours into the game, I just could not care about the story because the voice acting was so bad. To quote Kevin Boyle from Telltale Games, "As solid as your writing might be, as convincing as your animation is, as well executed as your cinematography is, if you don't have the voice talent to support where you want to go emotionally, you won't be able to get there." And that is absolutely true. And the voice acting in Bound by Flame does not support where this game wants to go emotionally. There are multiple moments throughout the game where something serious and dramatic happens that you think you are supposed to be taken seriously because of how they're done, but because of things like the voice acting, those dramatic moments that should be sad just end up being funny and weird. Those types of moments aren't helped by the fact that this game is pretty buggy when it comes to cutscenes. I won't show off any examples because of potential spoilers, but at times when someone is, for example, getting choked, my character's hands will clip right through their neck instead of looking like, they're trying to strangle someone. Really, just whenever this game tries to have these emotional moments, it just does not work. The lip syncing in this game is just atrocious. The characters will move their mouth, but very rarely does it actually, sync up to what they're saying. The game is also pretty buggy, like how the camera will constantly get caught inside an object, or how randomly the ground will disappear, or how the game just messes up the pronouns and will call my character he when I'm actually just a chick, and it's all just... I wanted to like this game. I really did. I thought the concept sounded very interesting, and I was excited for it. But by the end of the game, I just wanted to know when it would be over with, because with simplistic combat that makes every enemy encounter laughably easy, and a story full of characters I don't care about, what reason did I have to continue playing this game?